Good morning. Welcome to the Good Life Meditation for today, the 8th day of November, 2016. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Trying a few things. I believe it or not, I've got something else to add. So this is a version upgrade to 5.0. Showing off fingers there. And but I may try to add a few things into two other principles into one. Not necessarily to conserve space, but because I think that they're closely joined. So we'll give that a try. Today's a big day. It's the election day here in the United States. We're choosing our new president, as well as a lot of down ballot candidates, and here in the states, in the various individual states, various propositions and initiatives. I must confess that although I have done some research, I'm not as up on the local California initiatives as I should be. So I'll be spending my lunch break doing a little bit of catch up before I come home, go to the polls after work, and get her done. Let's get to it. So there are 4 components to the good life. There's the affirmation of human and civil rights, the statement of my 3 objectives, my 9 principles, and the followed by a summary, including a summary, and then followed by the Rotten Day forecast. Thinking about mixing that up a little too, that Rotten Day forecast. Still want to keep that, but I'd like to have a more targeted focus on the objectives for the day. Kind of a full and complete stop. The driving instructor in me. Kind of like a nod to the Stoic idea of that our lives can slip through our fingers. Not necessarily a Stoic idea. I think almost everybody thinks about this. Your life can slip through your fingers without you really realizing it, and having a more targeted attitude and objective for each day might help. So I'm trying to think of a way to weave that in. May do that. That would seem to fit very nicely with the Rotten Day forecast and the day's objectives. Maybe call it that, the Rotten Day forecast and today's objectives and the Rotten Day forecast. Maybe I'll do it like that. Let's try that today too. So here we go. Already 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes in. Let's start. So the affirmation of human and civil rights. I think I'll move quickly through this. It's getting pretty routine. Let's see. It's important as I move through my day to not hit that bag in the road. It's important as I move through my day and make decisions that I weigh those decisions against their impact. And specifically, making sure that I'm not doing things that are seeking after some greater good, but coming at the expense of some individuals or some smaller groups. It's just that simple. It's kind of a mature outlook that, I shouldn't say a mature outlook. It's the outlook that mature societies take towards its citizenry in the enactment of laws and guidance. That's pretty simple. Move on now to the 3 objectives. The first of those, the first of those is the development and maintenance of good, sound principles. These are the guiding factors that help us get through life. I should probably make this more personal, because this isn't necessary for anybody. I'm not prescribing this stuff for anybody else, and I'm just reciting it from my own memory. If it's useful, anybody's welcome to it, but that's not the immediate goal. I only record it because I take it more seriously when I record it, and even more so if I know I'm going to upload it, and there it is. Yeah, and I guess with regard to those principles, I think I'm doing a fair job at that, because the principles are indeed growing and changing, and there's more nuance with them nearly with every recitation. It's interesting as I do the edits and the afters, I can see where I space in the comments when I put in the the words over there, and you can look at it each day and you can see how each section, the objectives and the principles, takes up a certain amount of space, real estate in the video, but then I focus on different amounts of time on different components and different pieces there. I'm emphasizing my day by day change of focus and the development. So I guess that's what this is. You know, I just realized that making these videos and doing this daily recitation is the fulfillment of the first principle, first objective, which is the development and maintenance of good principles. By doing this, I'm doing that. Oh, blinker. 2, the second objective is the cultivation of good emotional reactions. Being able to get to a point where I can weather the storm of the ups and downs, you know, especially the internal storm, the internal churning. Had a good example of that last night. A little frustrated with my daughter over her messy room and gobbling down all the Halloween sweets and not doing her homework or not taking it as seriously as I would have liked, and you know, standing over her and giving her, you know, feeling the emotion rise. It's like, you know, come on, just get up. You're laying in bed. Get up. You know, get busy. She's good. I mean, she's getting A's and B's in her new school in the second language in a very difficult, challenging school. So I mean, I'm not complaining, but I was, you know, a little bit of sloth there, and but she made a good counterpoint that she deserves to rest a little bit. But at the same time, you know, I wanted her. I was a little disappointed, and I was a little exhausted from my day's work and a few other things that were on my mind, and I felt the emotion rising, but I just nibbled it, sampled it to get the essence, and then made a more reasonable response. You know, I explained to her that I like to, you know, she needs to get her homework done, and then I need her to do a few other things to be ready for dinner, and that we had a couple of decisions we need to make together on things that are coming up and the like, and got it all out. Didn't get too upset. At least I didn't lose control. That's the thing. But I did communicate to her that I was not satisfied with the behavior. A long-winded way to say that that's part of what this is all about, is being able to respond better. And that's a very minor case. The trick is to do it in more significant cases, the type of thing that can really, you know, go overboard. You know, we all encounter things like that in life at times. The third objective is the performance of good actions, just doing darn good things. Just making the world a better place through our actions and decisions. And that reflects back to the principles that I'll get onto now. So let's get into the 9 principles. Now I'm doing a little shuffling and the addition of a new one right up front, so bear with me. And the new one is one I haven't vocalized. So like when I introduced the principle of agency a couple of videos back, I kind of stumbled with it, and I'm still stumbling with it. That's the thing about making this video on a daily basis. It gets better now. All the other ones, the principles roll off the tongue now and roll off the mind with an immediacy that is very satisfying. And that's because of practice. It's like, you know, my swimming every day. I swim every single day. And I can swim, you know, when I first started, I could barely get through 20 laps. You know, I can power to 100 now with no problem. Go beyond that if I wanted to. Here we go, let's get on the freeway, and with our green light, goes up, person next to me. So the first, and this is the first time to try it, the first principle is bare essentials, or the bare necessities. Get on the freeway here. And when I first thought of this, when I first thought to add this, my first idea was to jump to the more straightforward necessities and make a simple catalog of, you know, you need a shelter, you know, warmth, food and water, and sanitation, you know, for those 4 things basically. And to survive, you know, that doesn't speak to the higher cognitive or social necessities. These are really the bare necessities of just staying alive. But then I thought about it a little more, and I was thinking, you know, yeah, that's true from a biological perspective, but so take a more philosophic approach. For me, and you know, pardon my solipsism, my personal perspective. But for me, what would be more of a necessity is not more of a necessity, but a more not satisfying, but more. You want to come in? Go ahead. I'll back off on the throttle. This person wants to get in, and let you in. Go ahead. Would be because those things are kind of a granted. I hate to say it, that's such a first world perspective. But in my being fortunate to live in the first world, in the circumstances that I'm in, even the most humble and mean shelters that I can, circumstance that I can muster for myself is probably going to provide those bare necessities. And I know that there's a lot of people that don't have them. So I don't in no means want to take those things for granted or not point them out, but they are there. But taking a slightly different stance then, assuming that I'm going to basically be able to provide those basics for my family and I, then the more immediate necessity is a greater control over my time. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm living an independent life of leisure, but it means that the time that I spend working as much as I do, working 2, sometimes 3 jobs, is a conscious choice on my part. And that it yields dividends that I'm after, which are, even though I could live in a shed or a tent practically, I do want to provide a comfortable, safe, warm, and a place of creature comforts for my wife and daughter, which they truly do enjoy. So I will work the extra hours to do that, but it's a conscious choice to do that. And that the more important thing for me personally then is the ability to manage my time so that I have sufficient free time to pursue the ends that I want. I smell something. I wonder what it is. Hopefully it's not my car. So there you go. The bare essentials for me are, yeah, it's that truck. It's spouting out its smoke. So the bare essentials for me are the willful management of my time. Wow, I do like the way that came. I like the way that came out. The willful management of my time. Sometimes it's good just to jump in the deep end and start swimming. The willful management of my time. That is the bare essentials. That is the bare essential for me. Doesn't mean that I'm a man of leisure. It means that it kind of ties in with the principle of the best seat in the house. It ties in with that insofar as at the start of each day, as I do this meditation, I set out to begin my day, and I map the day out, and I make a determination that I'm going to spend 9 hours of this day at hard work, and roughly 2 hours of this day commuting, to yield tangible benefits for my family and I, and for my society, which will leave me in the balance a few hours to myself to perform some of the things that I like to do, like this, and some leisure, and maybe the pursuit of some social ends before I sleep. The willful management of time, the bare necessity is the willful management of my time. Okay, there you go. We'll leave that there. 2, the principle of nature. No, the atomic principle. That's right. 2 used to be the principle of nature. 2, the atomic principle. Everything is bits and pieces, changing, flowing, transitioning, la-di-da-di-da. You and me, we're going to be dead tomorrow. You know, the stuff that we are will transfer to something else. We used to be dinosaurs. Blah, you got it. 3, the principle of nature. Everything in the universe, by virtue of its composition and character, has some particular nature. Disposition, attitude, a way of being, some sort of attributes that describe what it is. Everything from stones to fleshy jellyfish to you and me and quasars and the deep blue sea. And it's a worthwhile thing to catalog those things, kind of like Adam at the dawn of creation, giving everything its name. But instead of giving everything its name, we give everything its character. I look at this giant truck next to me and I say the character, the nature of this truck is to be large, to be inanimate, to be able to transport things, to have a shelf life of several 100,000 miles, maybe millions of miles, to require regular service, to be expensive, to require a driver, to be dangerous, a projectile moving at a high velocity, to be a utilitarian, to have lots of utility, but also to be a rather wasteful. You know, these are the things. It's like, why do you do that? Well, then I approach the thing and I see it for what it is, and I expect it what it is. When it runs into the back of me because I wasn't a careful driver, or it wasn't a careful driver, I won't be so surprised. And after all, it is in the nature of a giant truck to slam into the back of vehicles when the drivers are one or both of the drivers are not careful or unlucky. 3, or maybe not 4. 1, 2, 4. The social principle. Human beings are social animals. We need one another to survive and to get by. And our best ends are social ends. The best things we can do are to pursue social good. That's why I choose to work in the as a civil servant for social services. I didn't really choose it that way. I just kind of got lucky, but I choose to stay there. I'll never leave this job. They'll have to pry me out with a crowbar, even though my job is rather dull, not very glamorous. You know, my project manager, who cares, right? You know, business systems analyst, or what? Very dull cocktail party chatter, but at the same time, I really do appreciate the fact that I get to work towards the benefit of so many. The document that I made yesterday that outlined, it was an executive summary of business options for a particular service we want to deploy. And I really enjoyed doing the research to figure out the pros and the cons for each of the different scenarios. I came up with 3 scenarios, identified the pros and cons, and developed statistics, and or not really statistics, I'm not a statistician, but come up with the numbers to support that and make the case, and then offer a recommendation, which I hope, if they accept that recommendation, will allow the citizenry of this state and county to achieve a better end for more people with less money. What could be more satisfying than that for a middle-aged guy like me, just to be able to work in a job that I'm really making a difference in terms of the everyday guy and gal out there and families, especially kids. So that's 4, the social principle. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 5, after social principle, is where I'm getting confused, is temperance. Temperance is the measured consumption of life. Everything from the things we eat, drink, work and play, to the emotions that we feel. Enough said. Kind of went into the example earlier when I was talking about measured consumption of emotions. Now here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. That was temperance, which was, first was bare necessities, followed by atomic principle, followed by principle of nature, followed by social principle, followed by temperance. Now 6, I'm going to combine 2. I'm going to combine agency and the great indifference into one principle. 6. Agency and indifference. Agency and indifference. That's because they're related. Agency is evidence of life. evidence of consciousness, evidence of motive operation, operative element. I mean, even a jellyfish is an agent, even though it doesn't really have much cognitive capability. You know, they've seen a jellyfish go along. You know, it hints at life much more so than a plastic bag floating by. That's kind of the difference, you know. Although a plastic bag kind of floats by. Yesterday in a video I made a comment about inanimate objects that can hint at agency. And I was thinking to myself, how does that make sense? How can an inanimate object hint at agency? It's something that we create, like the plastic bag hints at the agency that created it. Like, you know, some people say, you know, it's evidence of a designer, so to speak. I really stretch that. So, but agency is really the evidence of life, and evidence of life, life or evidence of life. And we human beings like to identify agency. We're prone to spot agency all around us. I watched a video 2 days ago where a guy was out, went to a place with a Bigfoot sighting that had been seen the day before, went out with the camera, and by gosh, he was seeing agency everywhere. Bigfoot was over there throwing rocks at him. Bigfoot was back there pulling the twigs. He would turn the camera around, and it was everywhere. I was going, oh my gosh, he's having an agency an orgy of agency. I'll try to remember to put the link down below if you want to see that. So anyway, the point is that we plaster the universe over with agency. It's like a paintbrush. You have a paint can full of agency, you dip it and you plaster, you paint it over. And that's comforting, because if the universe appears to have a rhyme or reason, then we don't have to deal with what's the alternative, which is what I call the great indifference, which is the fact that for the most part, the vast majority of the universe is an unmindful, unintelligent, inanimate, container of entropy, of slowly melting entropy, of matter and energy melting into entropy, which is a rather formidable thought and rather scary. So we as human beings identify agency wherever we can, and we use that capacity to mask the great indifference. And the greatest mask of all is the application of the supernatural, because the supernatural is like a paint that covers everything in every case, even the places we can't reach. High surface wall, we can't get up there with our paintbrush. The stars are up there. We can't get up there and plaster over the dome of the sky with our paintbrush of agency. So we just simply say, God did it. And that's the great application of an overarching covering. And then once you attribute everything to God, then you're covered, right? There's nothing fearful or horrible, because they may be fearful or horrible, but at least it's not unmanaged and uncaused. It's like when I was a kid, knowing my parents were in the house, even though I was alone in my bedroom. I knew they were in the house. It's like being out in the desert when I'm all alone. It's very scary out there when you're all alone sometimes, especially at night. But if I tell myself God's out there, then I'm not alone in the house. Get it? I think so. I'm saying get it to me. A lot of this is trying to explain and help myself understand and refine ideas. So good. So there we go. Oh gosh, sorry I have to recite it again because I can't keep the numbers right. So one was first principle was the bare necessities, followed by atomic principle, nature, social principle, temperance, agency and indifference. I'm missing something. Oh, because I combined the two, so I did lose one. Yeah, agency and indifference, so it's going to be 8. Agency and indifference followed by reason, which is the faculty that we have to make sense of the world. I'll go fast through this. We look at the world, we catalog what we see, we make sense of that, we look at the facts, we develop arguments, which make predictions, we measure the predictions, see if they were accurate. If so, then we're onto something, keep it up. If we don't, then well, we better look at the facts and better develop our model. 8. Virtue. Virtue is the purpose of life. Virtue is, as I define it, the improvement of well-being, which is an objective or a reality. Witness things like education, health, medicine, living conditions, sanitation, population control, environmental factors. All these things are manageable by us, and objective things that we can agree on. So if we agree that virtue is the improvement of well-being for our species and the planet, then we've got something to work on, and let's go at it. And I then use all of the other things, all of the other principles and my objectives to that end. Virtue is the goal. So in summary then, life is, the good life is a life lived pursuing the bare necessities of, I can't remember how I said it, the effective management of time. I'm going to have to look it up and go back and see. Effective management of time, along with the brain's straining here, along with the recognition that we're just transient things forming and changing forever and never, that we identify with the nature of ourselves and everything else is, so that we can respect what it is and manage our expectations and live in accordance with our own nature, that we can pursue social ends, that we can exercise temperance in all things. All these people up here on the getting out the vote, what are they saying? Who's it for? No, not that person. That we can do social ends. Oh, we can exercise restraint. That we can identify agency. We understand that agency and difference in the relationship these hold, and to be wary of agency in covering up our own frailties, and as a shortcut to understanding, and that we can pursue the effort of virtue through the force for the actions of reason. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, now finally, I'm gonna add two here to the bottom, the best. The day's agenda and the rotten day forecast. Today's agenda: I'm going to spend 9 hours working at my job, and about 2 hours commuting, and probably about an hour voting, and then I'll have the rest of the time to myself, which I will use in having a nice dinner with my family. And as I always do, I'm going to catalog interesting things that I encounter through the day, keep a track of them on my iPhone here, so that I can talk to my family about them and have interesting dinner conversation tonight. Even though for the most part they don't seem too interested, it's nice to have something to talk about. And so I like to pursue, try to find things that they may be interested in, as well as things that catch my interest. Of course, we'll be talking about the election and following the election results together. Probably have our TV on, following YouTube things as well. I'll also upload this video. It's really just the process of getting it started, rendering, and off it goes. And then I'll enjoy a couple of beers. But mainly the thing is that I don't want to enjoy so much beer that I fall asleep too soon or lose my cognitive edge, because that's important to me. That's the best part of the day, is when I can spend a little time working out life, thinking about life, because my time is limited, and this is a day that I don't want to squander. I like that. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to regret in any way the time that I need to spend working. And if I get tired, have a cup of coffee or some other foods that are healthy and nutritious and help me to get through the day in a productive way. And I will not be distracted by the interest in wasting time doing other things. Because even though my job gives me plenty of opportunities to goof off if I wanted to, I don't want to. I don't want to be that type of person. I want to finish the day having given the citizens of this state better value for the money that they pay me on my salary. That's very important to me. Then I can go home satisfied and happy and at peace. And then I can spend some time enjoying the things that I like with my family and the thoughts. Ooh, there's a rock truck up there. Get out of that lane. I want to be behind the rock truck. And now on to the rotten day forecast. My wife and daughter are going to die today. A rock is going to hit my window and cause a crack. My car is going to break down. I'm going to suffer more financial challenges. I'm going to have to go deeper into debt to cover things. My retirement program is going to fall to pieces. The California voters are going to change the way the system works. I will be working for the rest of my life. I will never retire. And I mean that one quite sincerely. I have no plans to retire. And that's not because I love work, it's because I love being useful in that capacity. What else? There's got to be more. But I'm after 30 minutes. I better stop. I know there's a lot of bad things that can happen. Oh, I'm going to get upset at work. Oh, a new responsibility is going to come flowing my way. I'll get called into a meeting and say, Kurt, you need to start on this project, or that deliverable, or what you did sucked, or whatever. Can you juggle 3 balls in the air at the same time? All those things will happen today. But I'm ready for it. No, I'm not ready for it. I won't be ready for it. I'll get upset. But I'll feel that flush of emotion rising, but then I'll exercise my discipline and temperance to manage it. And of course, by the end of the day, after it's all done, so today I've collected my thoughts now. I'll compose them at lunch when I'm not, unless I'm doing the voting thing. I'll render them before dinner, and then I'll upload them, and then I'll be just in time to die at bedtime. So good night, everybody. Goodbye. This is my last video before I die. I like that. Sign these videos off with a death goodbye, because if I keep it up, one of these days it's going to be right. So this is my last video, because tonight I'm dead. Take care, everybody. Have a good life.